Mr. Clinton, call your next witness.
No, this time we call Kenneth Perry.
Raise your right hand, please. Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you stand right on stage your full name?
Prophet Kenneth Perry Sr.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Perry, let's start with where we just left off. Ms. Hodder has just dug up everything about your past. Is that fair to say?
No. She lied about some things.
So, Mr. Perry, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No, sir.
Let's start from the beginning. Mr. Perry, how old are you?
I'm 56 years old.
What's your date of birth?
July 8, 1968.
And where were you born?
Highland Park, Michigan.
How long did you live in Michigan?
Probably 22 years.
Okay. And where did you move from there?
To Georgia.
And where have you lived in Georgia?
I lived Lithonia, Stone Mountain area, predominantly Loganville, Snellville, and Atlanta and Decatur.
Now, the time when you were arrested, where were you living?
I was living on Austin Park Apartments off of Glenwood and Austin Drive. Oh, when I got arrested for this one?
Arrested for this?
Oh, I was living in Loganville, 1832 Preserve Creekway,
Okay. And who were you living in Loganville with?
down at Blevins.
Okay. Now, we just heard from Yasmin.
Mm-hmm.
Is that her mom?
Her mother-in-law,
Mother-in-law. And who's Ms. Blevins' son?
Cordell.
Now, we're going all the way from your birth to the current. At the time of your arrest, what were you doing for a living?
Have a non-profit ministry.
What's the name of your ministry?
Living Proof Prophetic Ministry.
Okay. And what's the purpose of your ministry?
I travel around state to state, church to church. I go wherever the Lord send me. I talk to a lot of bishops, a lot of pastors, a lot of deacons. The Bible says those who teach need to be taught. So God give me a word. I get on the road when I'm here. We provide clothes, shoes, food for the homeless people in Atlanta and Gwinnett County.
How long have you been doing that?
About 5 years.
Okay. And before that, what did you do for a living?
I work for American Radio. I put leather in cars.
Okay. And how long did you do that?
I started with American Radio around 2 months before the towers fell. That's back in 2001, somewhere in there.
And for the record, Mr. Perry, how tall are you?
Depending on whether I have shoes on or not, be 5'10", 5'11".
Okay. And today, roughly how much do you weigh?
Now that I don't know.
Okay. And why is that?
Haven't been on a scale in a while.
Okay. Now, Mr. Perry, let me draw your attention back to the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first come to Atlanta?
Probably was around April of 1990.
Okay. And when you moved to Atlanta, where'd you stay?
Actually stayed in a shelter. It was like a rooming house off of Moreland Avenue. And we met some friends at Austin Park Apartments that invited us to come and hang out with them.
Now, Austin Park Apartments, where are those located?
At the time, the name of it was on Glenwood and Austin Drive.
Okay. And is that inside or outside the perimeter?
It would be inside.
Okay. And at that point in time, you lived in apartments with how many people?
4 was for about 2 weeks, 4 kids.
And this is around the spring of 1990?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at this time in spring of 1990, were you single or married?
Really neither. I was with my children's mother,
Okay. And what's her name?
Lisa Reed.
Okay. Did you and Ms. Reed ever get married?
No, she was actually married when I met her, and I didn't know it until after my first daughter was born.
Okay. How many children did you have with Ms. Reed?
3 and 2 for sure.
Why do you say 2 for sure?
When I moved down here, her husband, they had never got a divorce, and she ended up moving with him to Rockdale County and took the kids with her. And so it's been on again, off again thing whose child it was, the youngest daughter.
Okay. And what 3 kids are we speaking of? What are their names?
Lolita Marie Perry, Kenneth Perry Jr., and Lisa Netta Reed.
Okay. And which child is it that the attorneys will in question?
Lisa Netta Reed.
And so in 1990, how many kids did you have at that time when you first got here?
3.
Now in 1990, let me draw your attention forward. July of 1990, where were you staying around about that time? Do you recall?
Austin Drive.
Okay. And living with the same people?
Same people.
Okay. Now, we've heard mention of a club on Lucky Street. Are you familiar with this club?
No, sir.
And we've heard mention regarding John and Pamela Sumter and their death. Let me just start with, let's get to the meat of this. Did you kill Pamela Sumter?
No, sir, I did not. And I will profess and confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Did you rape Pamela Sumter?
No, sir, I did not. My hands are clean. I did not rape Pamela Sumter. I did not kill Pamela Sumter or John Sumter.
I guess let me ask a question. Did you kill John Sumter?
No, sir, I did not.
Now I know this is an awkward question, but let me ask, in 1990, were you gay?
Never been gay.
Okay. But let me draw your attention to July 1990.
Mm.
Did you meet John and Pamela Sumter at some point?
At some point, I did.
How did you meet John Sumter?
Well, it was a weekend, so on a Saturday, and I normally walk. I didn't have a car, so my way of getting familiar was walking. And I was walking down Covington Highway Saturday evening, and I didn't know his name at the time. John Sumter approached me, rode up by me, asked me did I want to drive, and I told him no.
So, Mr. Sumter, did he ask you if you were a trick
No,
or a prostitute or any sort?
no.
Okay. So did you end up getting a ride from John Sumter?
Eventually I did.
Okay.
I didn't feel threatened or anything, you know. I received nothing but good vibes from people in Atlanta since I had been here.
Okay. And where'd you go, Mr. Sumter?
I told them where I was going. I was coming down Covington Highway. You have Harrison. What I normally do is walk down towards Wesley Chapel, go around the back way to Austin, drive back to the apartment. And after I got in the car with him, he said he needed to make a quick stop at his house. He had been out with a friend, and his friend was supposed to come and hang out with him. So he needed to stop by his house real quick to see if his friend had made it over there. And it wasn't but up the street.
Okay. So, did you go with John Sumter to the address in question here?
Yeah, I did. I rode over there with him.
Okay. And you recall what time you may have gotten there?
It was getting dark.
Okay. And this was July, so I assume it's around 9 or so?
I never wore a jewelry, so I couldn't tell you. It was getting dark.
So when you got to the house,
Right.
did you go into the house?
You know, we sat in the car and we talked a while, and I told him about my aspirations of getting into the ministry, and he gave me pretty good feedback. And that Joe, and he said, oh, we'll talk when we go in the house. So he asked me to wait outside, and they went in the house. What they talked about, I don't know. I sat on the front hood of the car and just waited. And against my first mind of not getting in the car or leaving, because it seemed like they was talking for a while. But I waited.
So did you go in?
Eventually, once he came back out, and they could me to come into the house.
Who came back out?
John,
And where was this guy, Alvin, at the time?
he was in the house.
Now tell us, what did Alvin look like?
He had to be at least about 6'1", maybe 6'2". He was dark skinned. I was a lot lighter than I am now, so yeah, he was definitely darker than I was. He had a military buzz cut. He had his eyebrows arched. He didn't have any facial hair, and he was built like an action hero. Like
What do you mean action
a
hero?
gym rat. He was a real buff.
So at some point in time, did you go into the townhome?
Yes, I did.
And inside the townhome, who was there?
The only person I saw was John and Al.
About how long do you think you may have stayed in there? Yeah, I did.
I don't know. I would think after about 15 to 20 minutes being in there, I was offered something to drink, and I was a bit parched, so I accepted. I guess I'm assuming it was water, and
The drink was in a glass, was it a
it
cup?
was in a glass, and it was handed to me by John.
And what happened after you took that drink?
Well, I sat down on the couch, and they were talking and back and forth, and
Who was talking?
John and Alvin about, I don't know exactly what they was. I would be like a fly on the wall just listening to them, but I know it had something to do with it.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay, what I heard was him say,
Hold on, hold on,
Alvin.
hold on.
Objection, hearsay.
So this conversation, did it have anything to do with you?
No. No.
And let me stop for a minute. 1990, how old were you?
22, I had just turned 22.
So going back to, you take a drink, and what do you notice about yourself after you take the drink?
I noticed I was awfully comfortable.
And did they offer you anything else while you were there?
Well, a while later they offered me a piece of a brownie.
How was that offered to you?
They offered it to me on a plate. Alvin did.
And did you take the brownie?
Well, I took it and it was round. It wasn't square, so I wasn't sure. So I kind of rejected it. But at the assistance, I did, grab it and take a bite, and it didn't taste like a brownie to me.
Okay. Now you said it was a brownie. What? It was round, sort of like a cookie.
Yeah, it's almost like a Hostess cupcake, Hostess ding dong, what they call them, something like that, round chocolate.
So after you tasted the brownie, what happened?
Like I said, it didn't taste like the brownie, so I went to the bathroom and lifted the toilet seat up, spit it out, flushed the toilet, rinsed my mouth out, and I went back and sat down.
And then what happened?
Things started getting a little fuzzy and to me, a little crazy.
What do you mean a little crazy?
Well, I noticed that they was hugged up and giggling and at one point in time kissing, and I didn't know what to make out of it.
Okay. So at that time, did you ask to leave?
No, actually, it was almost like I couldn't speak. It was really weird. And I knew something was going on with me that I didn't know what. I've never drank, never did any type of drugs my whole life. And so I didn't know what this feeling was.
feeling not yourself?
Yeah, I felt like I couldn't talk, I couldn't move. It was almost like if anybody ever had sleep paralysis and you try to snap out of it. For most people I know that experience something like that. You snap out of it when you call on the name of Jesus. And it was kind of one of those feelings.
Did you feel as though you were drugged?
Yes, I know I was. After that experience, looking back on it, learning about certain things like hypnology, HB, and psychotics, I knew they had given me something.
Then what happened?
I dozed off. And I don't know how long I dozed off, but when I came back to, I noticed they were sitting next to each other and John was on the phone. And I noticed my shirt was pulled up over my head.
Do you know how your shirt ended up over your head?
No,
Do you know what it maybe happened to you during this time?
no.
So at some point in time, did you miss something? Okay.
Well, that was a little while after.
What happened?
After John got off the phone, it's really weird. I was able to see what was going on, but I couldn't do anything about what I was seeing. As far as wanting to get out of the apartment or leave or whatever, it's almost like I didn't have control over that. And after John got off the phone, he came over and sat by me and was twirling my nipples. And then Alvin came over and he took his shirt off. He had on I believe it was a gray shirt. He had on some white shorts. And both were smiling at me. And
Were you able to resist?
no,
Why not?
I couldn't.
Then what happened?
If I could explain, it was, I have 4 older brothers, and your older brother pinned you down, you're 6 or 7 years old, you can't get up, and it's the worst feeling in the world, because you know that there's something inside you tell you can get up, you can beat this feeling, but no, it was like that, I couldn't do anything about it.
Then what happened?
John started giving Al oral sex. And only thing I was thinking was praying. And to my mother, at that time, my mother was the only spiritual person in my life. And so I was praying to her to seek help or guidance for me out of this situation.
Were you able to get up?
No.
Then what happened?
Then they took turns going down on me.
Now when you say going down, then what do you mean?
Sucking on my penis. It's another way to put it.
Were you able to stop them?
No, I wasn't.
How long this last?
I couldn't even tell you. I knew I passed out again.
So when you came back to, what happened?
When I came back to, Alvin pulled me up off the couch and trying to dance with me. And then John grabbed me by the hand and said, let's go upstairs. And so he ushered me upstairs, had his hand in my pants, kind of like pulling me forward by my penis up the stairs. And it was the worst feeling in the world.
Were you helpless? And where did John take you?
He took me into the bedroom where the lady was. I didn't know who she was at the time. I learned later that it was his sister, but at the time it was a woman in the room is dead.
What happened there?
We were in the room. She said, Johnny, I do not like cussing. So I thought if I just spelled it out, she said, Johnny, who in the F is this? And he said, somebody's supposed to be giving a ride home, but he gonna party with us. And he scooted me up on the bed. My pants was pulled down, and he was jacking me off from the back, and she was laughing, and she said, Johnny, what the HEL I'm gonna do with this? And he started laughing. She said, girl, they was calling each other all kind of names, you know, the B word, and he's like, you deserve a little fun or something like that, and she was pulling on me and pulled me like closer to where she was, and he was behind me with his arm between my legs, holding my testicles, and I can't really explain everything else that really happened, but I know it was like things was in slow motion at one moment, and in another moment it was in fast motion.
Do you recall having intercourse with anyone?
No, I don't recall having intercourse with Pamela, if that's what you're saying. But I know when I was next to her, John was behind me, licking on the crack of my butt. And if I can explain anything, it would be almost like the Bible talks about having an emission of semen. And by that I mean, you know, I had experiences when you sleep and you might be thinking about your wife, you may be thinking about your girlfriend or some type of woman in your dream. And you actually think you're having sex and you're not. But when that body fluid leaves your body and wakes you up and you know that it was a dream. So it was like that type of feeling right there. I knew there was a mission of semen or virtue, whatever you call something out of my body. And
How long this lasting, I did?
no, they was pretty much laughing about it, and she said, "Ooh, you nasty," and he pushed my head out between her legs to try to make me get up. Sleeping. And she was fingering herself.
Then what happened?
Alvin came in the room and took a picture of the sound. It would sound like a Polaroid camera, and she pushed me and Johnny off the bed. So yeah, I'll take that SHIT downstairs. Get the HEL out of my room. And Alvin took another picture, and she told Johnny he got to leave.
Objection,
He got to leave.
hearsay.
Sustained.
So, how'd you get downstairs?
I have no idea.
What happened when you got downstairs?
When I came to, I was on the floor. And John was behind me trying to penetrate me. I tried to scream and I couldn't.
Why not?
I didn't know why at the time. I had a red ball in my mouth with a leather band around my head. And
Now this time, where was Al? Where was Alvin at?
I didn't see him.
So once you got up, what happened?
I bumped into a tray, a table or something, and I noticed keys had fell on the floor. And I knew I got over there in the car, so I grabbed the keys and jumped up and pulled up my pants. And I said, no more. And I ran towards the front door. I was running towards the front door. That's when Alvin was coming down the stairs. And I didn't know it at the time, he had a knife in his hand. And as I was going out the door, I don't know if he meant to try to cut me, stop me from leaving. But cut me on the side right here. And I made it out the house. I ran to the car. The key didn't fit the car. So I remember he came up in a different car. It's a Oldsmobile, either Delta 88 or 98, tan in color. And I drove off in that car.
So which car did you leave in?
The Oldsmobile.
Okay. Was that the white Dodge Shadow?
It was an Oldsmobile. Delta 88 or 98.
So you didn't take the Dodge Shadow, which we've heard about in this case.
No, sir.
So when you left, you say Alvin confronted you.
As I was going out the door, he was coming down the stairs, and once I was getting ready to leave, it was almost like he darted at me to try to keep me from leaving out, and that's when I got cut.
And when you left, do you know where John was in the house?
No, in the living room.
Was he alive?
Yes, he was alive. In fact, as I was running out, he was trying to get me not to go. And I heard him say, hold up, wait. And I just shot out of there.
And now Pamela, you have any idea where she was this time?
No.
Now, to your knowledge, when you left, was Pamela alive?
All three of those people were alive when I left out of that house that night.
And where'd you go?
I went over, drove over to the parking lot right there on Glenwood and, Austin Drive and 285, which is now the 285 flea market. And I parked the car there and left the key in and I walked over to Expressway.
So after this ordeal, did you call the police?
No.
Why not?
At that moment, I contemplated suicide. I walked over to the Expressway. I just wanted to roll down the embankment into traffic.
Why would you contemplate suicide?
Because I had never experienced nothing like that before in my life. And I felt like I was to blame. I put myself in a bad situation.
Now, after the incident, did you ever see or hear about or Pamela
No.
John something again?
No, I hadn't.
Did you ever go back over that apartment?
No, I hadn't.
Now, we've heard some evidence that at some point in time, you gave information about this Swift Street address. Who lived on Swift Street?
Well, when Lisa and her husband split up again, he helped her get the apartment over on Swift Street. To my knowledge, they didn't move over there till like the end of September, close to October.
But in July of 1990, you lived on Glenwood?
Austin Drive, Glenwood, Austin Park Apartments, I believe that's the name of it was.
Now, did you, just want to go back for a moment. So did you ever go by the name Al or Eddie?
I've never been known by anything other than Kenneth Perry or KP.
And that night, the conversation that you had, did you ever try to hide your identity?
No.
And that night, just to be clear, Did you kill either one of these persons?
No, sir, I did not.
Now let me draw your attention to, I guess, June of 2024. At that time, you told us you were living where again?
In Loganville.
And we've heard some testimony regarding your arrest. What were you doing that day?
That particular led up to my arrest. Me and Mr. Lewis was out. We went to a Goodwill, and we went to another Salvation place, trying to find her son, her grandson, a bicycle with training wheels.
And how'd you end up at the pizza parlor?
It was up the street, and after we left there, it was around lunchtime, and she suggested we try the new pizza place, and I agreed, and we went to the pizza place.
Now, do you recall the exact arrest at the coming out of the pizza place, or inside the pizza place?
Inside the pizza place.
Did you fight? Did you resist the arrest?
No.
Did they give you information as to why they arrested you?
After I was handcuffed and placed in back of the truck.
And do you have any idea what they were speaking of?
No.
And I understand the police showed you pictures.
They showed me pictures probably about an hour and a half after they arrested me. They arrested me. They had me taken to the Cobb County Jail, changed my clothes out at intake, and took me over off of the Vista Road to the interrogation room over there.
Now, did you recognize the photos of John or Pamela Sumter?
No, I did not.
Had you seen them as over the last 30-some years?
No, I did not.
Nothing further.
Do you all do break? No.
Mr. Perry, your testimony today is that you did not sexually assault anyone that night, correct?
I did not sexually assault Ms. Sumter. No, I did not.
You, in fact, were the victim of sexual assault.
In fact, right.
You were sexually assaulted on the sofa, correct?
Yes, I was.
By John and Alvin.
Yes.
You were sexually assaulted upstairs in Pamela's bedroom by John and Pamela.
Yes, and I did not consent to get my DNA. I believe it was taken from me.
And that's the spontaneous emission that you felt, correct?
Spontaneous emission?
Is that what you were saying, that you felt that you ejaculated at some point?
No, I didn't.
Up in Pamela's room,
That's right.
that you did not consent to?
No, I did not.
And you were sexually assaulted a third time downstairs by John again?
That's right.
And after multiple sexual assaults, you never reported any of this conduct to the police?
You know what? I did not. And so I would fall into the category of many men and women around the United States that experience something like that.
And this home, I mean, it was basically like a wild sex dungeon, the way you describe it.
That's not how I describe it.
Didn't you say there was a dominatrix ball that was put in your mouth and tied around your head?
No, I did not say
You
that.
didn't say you woke up to a ball in your mouth? And John behind you?
I didn't say a dominatrix, no.
And you were drugged correct?
I know I was.
By a liquid, correct?
Whatever it was in the glass they gave me to drink that I thought was water.
And you were drugged by food?
I didn't say the food had drugs in it, I said they offered me a brownie.
But it didn't taste like
It
it.
didn't taste like a brownie.
And you felt really funny afterwards.
After I drank that drink.
But you've seen all the pictures of the house and the investigation. There wasn't any ball found in the room, correct?
There was neither bag found, but Alvin had I told my attorney, he had a Powerhouse gym bag with him. And, I didn't see that bag in either one of the photos.
So Alvin cleaned it up. He cleaned up the ball that John used to sexually assault you.
If you know that, he must have told you.
Did Al take the drugs from the house that they used to drug you too?
You would have had to ask him that.
You'd agree that they weren't found in the processing of the apartment, correct?
I didn't process the apartment.
Did you sit here for the testimony?
Yes, I did.
And did the multiple officers testify to finding any drugs or anything that would have been used to create this dreamlike state that you were made to go into?
I don't know what they would have found.
Were you listening to their testimony?
Yes, I was.
And did anyone testify to finding any drugs in that apartment?
Not to my knowledge.
So not only did John and Alvin sexually assault you, but your testimony is that Pamela was sexually assaulting you as well.
That's what you said.
Now I'm asking what you said, Mr. Perry.
I told you what she did to me. She pulled on my penis. She pulled me close to her when she was fingering herself. And I don't know what else after that was really going on. I was in and out.
So the answer to my question is yes,
What was your question again?
that Pam sexually assaulted you.
Yes, she did.
Now, before you moved down to Georgia from Michigan, well, let me ask you about Lisa. Lisa Reed, she was the mother of your first 3 children, correct?
Yes.
And you met Lisa in Michigan, right?
Yes, I met her in Michigan.
And Lisa moved down to Georgia from Michigan with the 3 children, correct?
Yeah, you're correct.
And you followed her here, correct?
I didn't follow her there. I was asked to come down.
But you came down here because of Lisa, correct?
And I came down here because of my kids.
Because Lisa brought them to Georgia.
Right.
And Lisa was living at the Swift Street address, correct?
Yes.
She started living at that address in May of 1990, correct?
Yeah, I don't know.
But you wouldn't dispute it.
I wouldn't know.
And she lived there up until the point you indicated that you were living there in October, on October 8th of 1990.
I never said I lived there.
Mr. Perry, do you recall presenting your address as 7047 Swift Street when you bonded out of the DeKalb County Jail on October 8th of 1990?
Yes, I see the address on it.
And that's your signature next to that address, correct?
Yes.
the address you said you could be found at to the courts, correct?
And that's the address she told me I could use if I needed the address.
And it's important that you give the courts the correct address, because if they can't find you, you go to jail, right?
So I'm told.
And the address you gave was 7047 Swift Street, correct?
That's the address I gave the court.
And in fact, Lisa told the police that you had been living with her there.
Your Honor, will object hearsay?
Sustained.
Is it your testimony that you did not live there with Lisa?
No, I did not live there with Lisa.
And if Lisa told the police that,
Your
that
Honor,
would be a
will
lie.
object to the form of the question?
Sustained.
Now, Lisa had a brother named Leroy, correct?
Yes, she did.
And Leroy is gay, right?
You say Leroy is gay?
Yes.
I don't understand the question.
You're aware that Lisa's brother Leroy is gay, correct?
You keep saying is.
Was gay.
Yeah, he was.
And you told Leroy that you would go to gay bars, correct?
Never.
That you would let gay men pick you up, correct?
Never.
And that you would let them take you home.
Never.
That you would get them comfortable, correct?
Never.
And then you'd beat them up and take their TVs. That's what you told Leroy, right?
Never.
So if Leroy said that to the police, he'd be
Your Honor,
wrong.
will object?
Sustained.
So we've established that back in July of 1990, you had recently moved here from Michigan, correct?
Correct.
You were in your 20s, correct?
I had just turned 22 July the 8th.
So the answer to my question is yes.
Yes.
You reported in October of 1990 that you were 5'9", correct?
No, I believe that's what they had me standing next to on the wall before they took my picture.
Did you not stipulate that you represented that you were 5'9" in October of 1990?
Well, that's what the outline said.
And is your signature not on the stipulation?
I never went around measuring my height.
That wasn't my question, Mr. Perry. Your Honor, may I retrieve the stipulation? The parties stipulate to the following facts. On October 8, 1990, Kenneth Perry represented that he was 5'9", 230 pounds, and residing at 7047 Swift Street in Lithonia, Georgia. Is that your signature, Mr. Perry?
Yes, that's my signature.
Thank you.
Ms. Hart, you can put it with yours.
Yes, Your Honor. And you've represented your height at 5'10" before, correct?
No,
You never indicated that your height is 5'10".
not that I recall.
Did you not just say on direct testimony, speaking to your attorney, 5'10", 5'11"?
I was talking to Mr. Queen.
But you've never told me you were 5'10", is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't.
But you told Mr. Queen you were 5'10".
5'10", 5'11".
Now, men don't usually lie about their height to make themselves shorter, do they, Mr. Perry?
I wouldn't know.
And in 1990, you were 230 pounds.
My weight fluctuated.
You were a bigger guy, correct?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, how would you describe your size back in 1990?
In 1990, my birthday, I was 208 pounds.
So you went from 280 pounds in July to 230 pounds in October?
I was 208 pounds.
8. And 230 in October.
Correct.
And that would make you a bigger guy, correct?
But I gained a few pounds since my birthday up until the day I was arrested.
You weren't a skinny man. Can we agree to that, Mr. Perry?
Yeah, I was chunky.
And your hair was cut closer on the sides, correct?
My hair was growing back out.
So it was even closer before.
Yeah, I used to wear brush waves.
And it was flat on the top and had a little bit of length on the top, correct?
No, brush waves, I had waves all around my head. But my hair grew out.
And you admitted that you did go to the victim's apartment the night that they were murdered, correct?
I was there that night.
And you have to admit that because your fingerprints were found on a plate in the house, right?
No, I have to admit that because it's the truth.
Because they were on a downstairs bathroom doorknob at the apartment, correct?
That is the truth.
This is a doorknob that John also touched, correct? Did you hear that testimony?
Oh yeah, I did hear that.
And a plate that John also touched, correct?
I heard that as well.
Now, you've heard that Pamela Sumter was 43 years old at this time, correct?
I believe they might have said age.
And she was living with her brother in that apartment, correct?
Correct.
Pamela had only lived in Georgia for 3 months at this point, correct?
I wouldn't know that.
Have you heard that testimony
I don't believe I heard the 3-month part.
from her mother and her brother? Were you not listening to her mother and her brother's testimony?
Yes, I was listening.
And were you listening when everyone who testified indicated they never saw Pamela with a man? Were you listening to that part?
I heard that part.
Were you listening when Pamela Sumter told the detective she'd been celibate for years?
I heard that part, but I didn't hear anybody say they followed around to see if it was true.
And this is the woman that you claim sexually assaulted you while you were drugged in her bedroom.
That is the truth.
You heard Dr. Doss's testimony about the vaginal tears that Pamela suffered, correct?
Yes.
The abrasions that she suffered, correct?
Yes.
How these kinds of injuries are most commonly seen in childbirth, correct?
Correct.
How do you explain those injuries?
Well, I can't because I didn't rape her.
And who did, Mr. Perry?
Well, based on her statement, it was Alvin, the person that she had seen multiple times.
So your testimony is now that Alvin, who was having sex with John, raped Pamela.
I never said he was having sex with John.
Did you not say they were giving each other oral sex, Mr. Perry?
That's what I said.
Is oral sex not sex?
Or you said sex.
So he was having sex with John, correct?
John was giving oral sex.
So your testimony now is that Alvin raped Pamela, this person who was having sex with John.
Not that, I don't know because I wasn't there.
But it's your DNA and Pamela Sumter's vaginal swab, right?
Yes.
There's no one else's DNA, correct?
Maybe he didn't ejaculate.
So you heard Ms. Sumter's interview with the detective about how insistent her attacker was, correct?
Correct.
They even went to the trouble of getting a Vaseline jar, correct?
Correct.
So you're saying this person who was so insistent on raping Pamela, they didn't ejaculate?
I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't there.
So this real rapist, this person Alvin, he was also in his 20s?
You know, he was about 33. I have an older brother, so I had a pretty decent age.
And he was also dark-skinned,
He was darker than I was.
but he was significantly tall, correct?
Excuse me?
He was significantly taller than you,
Yeah,
correct?
he's a little taller than I was.
He's not 5'7" or 5'8", correct? Was Alvin also from Detroit?
He could have been.
Was Alvin also living in Lithonia?
That I don't know.
Was the mother of Alvin's children also a 9-minute walk from where the car was abandoned?
That I couldn't tell you.
Less than half a mile? Is that correct?
I couldn't tell you that.
But it is for you, correct?
I couldn't tell you that either.
Well, did you hear the testimony?
Yeah, but I wasn't living there at the time.
Do you dispute that the car was located less than half a mile from where Lisa Reed was living?
That's what the detective said.
The address that you provided to the courts is your address?
That's what the detective said.
Now, Mr. Perry, you weren't working back then, correct?
I was working at day labor at places.
You didn't get a regular check, correct?
No, not at that time.
And that's why you had this little ploy, right?
Excuse me.
With the gay men. This is why you let gay men pick you up, right?
And it's something you know to be true.
I'm asking you, Mr. Perry.
And I told you never.
This is why you would steal from them, correct?
I never stolen anything from anybody.
Except sex from Pamela Sumter.
You know, Miss Hodder, I tell you, like I said before, my hands are clean. I did not rape Pamela. I did not kill Pamela or John. Now, did you hear me the first time when I said that, Miss Hodder?
I did, Mr. Perry.
Okay.
And you can say it as many times as you want, but it doesn't make it true.
The truth never changes.
That's right, Mr. Perry.
And you know what, Miss Hodder? I am a man of God. I am a true prophet of God. This day was the divine appointment. God showed me some things about you I would love to tell you if you want to hear them, because I know why you became a prosecutor.
Mr. Perry, this case is about you.
And it's
And
about
we're here to
you, too.
talk about you, Mr. Perry.
And you're right.
Mr. Perry,
Yes, ma'am.
answer the question.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, y'all.
Nothing else at this time, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Just briefly, Judge. So, Mr. Perry,
Yes, sir.
you've heard the testimony and you've heard the evidence. Did you kill those people?
No, sir, I did not. I did not kill John, Pamela Sumter. I did not rape Pamela Sumter.
Nothing further.
You would say that. Call your next one.
Your Honor, this time defense rests.